Let's go, folks. Time for the Gibby Show.
How you doing, baseball fans? We are back. Welcome to the Gibby Show's 2023 podcast season preview. I'm John Arezzi, and it's my pleasure to once again be working with my friend, the former two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, the co-author of the brand new book, Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer, direct from San Antonio, Texas, Mr. John Gibbons. How you doing, Gibby?
Johnny, I'm doing great, man. It's been a long time. I haven't heard that introduction in a while now, man. I was kind of enjoying it, Pat myself on the back a little bit with that. But yeah, it's hey, baseball season's here. We're excited, just like all the fans, and we're going to talk some baseball, primarily the Blue Jays. And but yeah, we missed it.
Yeah, very optimistic about the spring coming up. First and foremost, John, I mean, we had such a tremendous response last season for this show. We want to thank everybody for their support and for all the listeners that were tuning in each and every week. So first and foremost, we want to thank those people for being a part of the Gibby Show as listeners.
Yeah, you know what? They helped. They brought us back. And
they did.
One thing about my time in Toronto and throughout Canada, I met so many good friends, and the people were wonderful, and that just carried over to this. And we got a great response from the current players and some past players, and because it's in reality, that's what everybody loves about baseball. It's a tight community, whether it's fans, players, and coaches. So we're trying to enjoy that and share that with all the people out there.
Yeah, and you're a straight shooter, and the guest that we had last year, we'll get into that in a little bit, but what a great first season. This season, we have a couple of major announcements to share with everybody, but first, before we get into all of that, I want to ask you about your offseason. I mean, from chasing buffalo in Montana to discovering the snowy owls in the Great White North of Ottawa, the buffalo mentality. Have you thought out yet
who I am or where I'm at? Buffalo.
Have you thought out? I mean, you were just, every time you posted something, it was like you were surrounded by this beautiful white scenic background, the snow, the buffaloes. I mean, it was quite entertaining to watch your post on social media with the travels that you did. So kind of tell us a little bit about what you were doing in the off season.
Hey, Johnny, though, that's what happens when you marry a photographer, for crying out loud. It's pretty active, I'm getting a little older. She's a little bit younger. She wants to get out and do that, and she's a tremendous photographer. So, what we did? We went to Yellowstone for the first time, and I was born out in Montana. My dad was in the military, but so we'd heard all about it, and said, let's go out there and she can take some pictures, and we fell in love with it. So we went 5 times last year, and actually put a bid in on a house about a mile from Yellowstone, and we came in way too low. Obviously, somebody scooped it up, but. Where there's a chance we could move out there someday again. But and then we saw these pictures of these, probably the most beautiful bird I've ever seen. It was snowy owl, man. Have you ever seen one?
Yeah. Well, I saw them in those pictures on Instagram. They were gorgeous. They were beautiful, beautiful animals, beautiful birds.
Yeah. I'd never heard of it before. So anyway, my wife Christy, she let's go. We got to go see this, right? So we went up to New York City, see my son, and then we hopped on a plane and went to Ottawa. So I was just right down the road from Toronto there. And the most incredible, beautiful birds, and she got some good pictures, and then we came home. So that's kind of like that's I'm semi-retired. That's the other part. I got to keep her happy,
But listen, I mean, look how many years you spent in the game. Look how many years that it was like you never had that chance to kind of chill a little bit and get to discover and see these things. And now you had the opportunity to do that. Your time is a little bit more freer, especially this time of year. And I do understand also that aside from all of your traveling, you did welcome a new addition to the Gibby home. So why don't you tell us about that? Because you posted something on social media and it was like, wow, look, John is the daddy.
I got 3 kids. Christy had 2, but no grandkids yet. And it doesn't look like we're going to have any in the near future. But so we said we better get another puppy, And Christy's a huge dog person, And so we said let's go out and get a lab. I'd always wanted a lab. I had dogs as a kid. So we went out and purchased a lab, named her Waylon, and we got another one coming in the next few weeks. So it has a friend. This one will be Willie. So Waylon and Willie, and that's a tribute to you in Nashville, man. You're Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, some of the two biggest outlaws in country music, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson. I mean, what great names for
That's right.
these two new additions to the family. One has already arrived, and one is on his way. So that's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it
Very,
will
very,
be. They bring a lot of joy. They don't back talk like your
yeah,
own kids do.
yeah. That's very true. But from snowy owls to buffalo, snowy owls to birds of a different feather, let's talk Blue Jays. We are here now. Lots of off-season moves for the Jays, John. I want to get your opinion on some of the moves, some of the key departures. I mean, the team made a lot of wholesale changes. I mean, key departures. I mean, they got rid of their corner outfielders, uh, and they brought in other players. I mean, do you want to get specific about some of the moves that were made? I mean, Jackie Bradley Jr. gone, Gurriel Jr. gone, Teoscar Hernandez gone, and others. They got rid of one of the catchers that was one of the three, but they brought in from Chris Bassett, starting pitcher who they needed to replace Ross Stripling. A lot of moves. Kamier in center field now. I want to get your opinion on the moves that were made this offseason by the Jays.
Johnny, you know what? They were very active. I thought they had a great winter. I really do, and I think the baseball world kind of views it that way. And I think well, it all starts on the mound, right? If you're going to win anything in this game, you look at the Houston Astros last year; they pitched at the end, right? And
Yeah,
you got to have starting pitching. Yeah, and then they were losing Stripling, so they went out and got Bassett, who had a tremendous year last year with
he
the
was
Mets.
awesome. He was great,
Yeah, and
reliable,
he'd been very good
reliable.
in the yes, yeah. And that's kind of what he is. Kind of like a Stripling type. They just go out there. They're steady eddies. All they do is win, and they give you a chance to win every night. And he was really good in Oakland, and now
Hmm.
I think he's going to do a great job. They'll be able to count on him every fifth day. Because there was some question marks. And then in Swanson, who they picked up in the Teoscar deal out there in Seattle,
Yeah,
you look at his numbers. I mean, big strikeout guy, doesn't walk many guys. He doesn't give up many home runs. He'll be a key part in that bullpen because bullpen, you never have enough guys. You know that. In year to year. I mean, we always used to look at it. If you get a reliever, every other year is probably when he's really, really good because the year that he's really good, he gets used so much. The next year, a lot of times they fall off because they're out of gas, right? And they regroup. It doesn't happen to everybody, but it's kind of interesting how it does happen a lot because they get used up. So he'll be a big addition there. And then the sleeper there. I'm not sure when he'll be ready, but Chad Green used to be at the Yankees, one of the most dominating guys.
right.
When his day comes, I think he's got a 2-year deal, so they'll at least have him next year. I mean, so
Yeah,
that's pretty solid. That's just great additions there. And then you turn around to the offensive side of things and defensive. They really were right-handed dominant,
they
so they
were.
needed to address that, and they did address that. We were like that. I'm not sure which years they were, but in Toronto, and we had a bunch of great right-handed hitters, but if you're all right-handed, you go into a series against a good team and has pretty good. Most bullpens are all what right-handed. You might have one or two lefties, but
Yeah,
they're all right-handed. So there's really no strategy that you have to do on the other side. Is you get to a certain point of the game, just run them righties one right after each other, right? So they went out and dressed that. They brought in Kiermaier, who's a
yep,
stud center fielder, and he
yes,
can beat you many different ways, and he's left-handed. Uh, then the big trade they made, getting Varsho from
yes,
Arizona. The thing about him, he can play the outfield, he can go back there and catch. I'd heard some arguments. Well, that you're losing Teoscar Hernandez's bat, which there's no doubt about that. And I was there when Teoscar came, and I love the kid. But Varsho pretty much equalizes what they both had very similar years last year. This way, Varsho can play any position in the outfield. He can go behind the plate for you. So that kind of neutralizes that a little bit. But it does give them, and they got Belt coming off. He's a World Series champ with the Giants. You bring that
yes.
experience. So they got a lot of different things, and their defense definitely improved, and that's always big.
Yeah, they're strong defenders, both Varsho, Kiermaier, and they're left-hitting hitters. I mean, so overall, I mean, do you think that these moves made the team stronger in comparison to what the team's makeup was last year?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. They got better balance. They their defense improved. They're gonna hammer the baseball either way. Whether it was last year's team or this team, that's the same. But I think it makes it a little bit tougher on opposing teams when they play them to strategize later in the games.
Yeah,
Because they got the left-handed bats in the and we can't forget Merrifield too. Although he came last year, Witt's a huge addition for him. And he settled in
right.
nicely. So they got a good team, and you know what they're paying for it. They're paying a lot of money for that team, the most ever in history, I think. So they got a chance to win it all.
Yeah. Do you think that some of these moves that were made were kind of designed also maybe to just tweak a little bit that culture in the clubhouse?
You know what? It's hard to say unless you're really in there. Because the guy they traded was one of my favorite guys, Teoscar Hernandez. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a lovable guy and just always did his job. So maybe I have no idea, but I will say this: their best move they made on of the offseason. You know what the best move is?
What
You got
was
any
it?
idea? Get rid of that daggum home run jacket. That was
Ah,
their best move.
yes. Yeah, the jacket is gone. I mean,
Oh,
that was a point of contention. Some people loved it, a lot of people hated it. I mean, manager John Schneider said the team was shelving the jacket in a decision that was made by the players. He said it was time to go from a talented, fun team to a talented, fun team that's going to scrap and claw and find ways to win games. But you were not a fan of that jacket, were you?
no, no, I don't know many that were, but it's not just the Blue Jays that are doing that. You watch
Yeah.
every team in baseball now. They do.
Yeah.
Some of them they had a cart in the dugout. The guy will hit a home run. He'll hop in the cart. Some will
I don't
put like
like it.
hats, cowboy. It's like I get it. That it's a fun game, and they're trying to ramp that up a little bit more. To draw the younger crowd. I think. But there's
Yeah.
still, it's like, you watch games on TV, and the team's down by 10 runs and they're still celebrating when they hit a home run. Now it's 10-1. It's like, it just doesn't seem right. Put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's gone, and I'm sure that for most people it won't be missed. Maybe some people will, but did
It
you
was a
get a
pretty cool
chance?
jacket, though.
It was a good looking jacket. It was designed by, I guess, the bilingual player interpreter Tito LeBron. He's the one that kind of came up with it. It was inspired by the Masters green jacket given to the winner of that storied golf tournament. But hey, listen, he designed it. It was a cool looking thing, but it's gone now. Let's move on to it's just baseball. You hit a home run. You want to take a curtain call if it's appropriate, take one. But take the jackets off. Don't put any big fluffy cowboy hats on your head. Don't wheel people
Uh,
down the dugout in a cart.
hey,
I mean, it's just kind of crazy.
Johnny, we're getting old, man. Well, I guess
I
we're getting
think
old.
so, man. I think so. But I spent a lot of time this spring so far watching the Jays, thanks to MLB Network. I mean, almost every game you get a chance to see, and I'm excited about the Jays. I mean, looking at Bo Bichette and just looking at the team and the confidence and how just how exciting this team looks. It certainly looks like an elite team in the AL East for sure, and maybe even in all of baseball.
Oh, no doubt. They proved that last year. I mean, they proved that the year before. They just missed out by getting in the postseason by one game.
Yeah.
And you know what? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a little more balanced schedule this year. There's not going to be as many games against
There
the.
is. There
So
is.
that, no telling how many teams from the heck, the American League East win and the National League East win because they're not beating up on each other as much. So,
Right.
they're ready. And that year they had last year is, it was a tough finish, but it's going to make them better. There's no question.
Yeah, the balanced schedule. There's those are just one of the changes in baseball this year. Of course, I'm a fan of the balanced schedule. I love the, there's a lot of old school people that like that. It's not traditional baseball, but to have every team face every other team, I think that's really exciting for the game. I really do. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, especially when when you have wild cards, you want it a level a playing field as you can to say everybody should be competing against everybody else, right? If it's
Yeah.
just your division winners, the way it used to be, you can play each other as many times as you want. Now it'll come out correctly, right? But I've seen teams. You can even look at the Blue Jays last year, right? They had, I don't know, they win like 16, 17 games against the Red Sox, right? And now that's an aberration right there for anybody, especially against the Red Sox. But that just shows you, that kind of, and for a while, the Red Sox were hanging in there in the wild card race. But that losing that many games to one team kind of eliminates a lot of things, and the teams in the other division sneak right past you. So I think it'll definitely make the game, make your wild card winners true winners, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Of course, there are other rules that have changed in baseball. The pitch clock, for one, no shifts, larger bases, but that darn ghost runner is still allowed in extra innings on second base. So that one was kind of like, why? But I like
Let
the
me
other
ask you
changes.
one
Go
other
ahead.
on that ghost runner. They can't use it in the postseason, right? So if you're going to use something that's going to be played a certain way in the postseason, why isn't it played like that all the time? I mean, come on,
Right.
what are we doing? But
Right, right. I mean, it's not consistent at all, but I've watched a number of games this year, and to tell you the truth, the pitch clock, it'll take some getting used to by the players, especially those who were playing in the WBC because they didn't have that rule there. We'll get into that in a second, but I love the way it has sped the game up. It really has. It's made a big difference. And what do you think of the pitch clock and the changes that were made there?
I understand the whole the idea behind it. Yeah, that's good. I'm good with that, but it will take some adjustment for certain guys,
It will.
But
It will.
we always used to preach to guys, hey, pick up your pace a little bit. You always pitch better. We used to use Mark Burley as an example, right? And there's some to that, but there's also guys I've seen just the opposite. Every team's got a psychologist now, or every player's got their own psychologist. A lot of them will tell them. You remember in what was the movie with Luck LaLoosh and Kevin Costner and Major? Well, not what Major. It was Bull Durham, right?
Bull
And they
Durham,
go out there.
yeah.
They go
Yeah.
out there and tell them to breathe through your eyelids or pretend that
Yeah.
this and that. And so it takes time. Certain guys have to relax. Certain guys can't move quick. It gets them in trouble. And I just hope what doesn't happen is at the end of the season, you're in a playoff game, right? And you generally see it more in the late innings when you get your top-notch relievers in there and the game's on the line, right? The game has a tendency to slow down because one hit, the game's over, right? That's just kind of the way it works. It always has worked out. I just hope the clock doesn't interfere with that and cost somebody a game or
Yeah,
because
it could be a
that would
strike
be a
3. It
shame.
could be a strike 3, because the pitch clock, the
Yeah.
batter didn't have enough time or whatever, and loses track. And for pitchers especially, I mean, imagine in a high pressure game that with the pennant on the line, that the pitcher doesn't deliver the pitch in the time allotted, and then boom, and then it could be a bases loaded walk and changes the whole course of a season.
Yeah, because late in the game, especially the postseason, things get tense. The
Yeah,
crowd's crazy. You watch the playoff games in Toronto, man. Place is shaking. Sometimes the guys out in the field can't think because it's so loud, right? And so they back off. They try to gather their thoughts, or maybe the catcher's got to do something. I just hope it doesn't come down to that. But these guys will adjust. They're pros. They always do.
Yeah, guys like Max Scherzer is like he loves it because he's a fast worker anyway. Guys like Chris Bassett, it may affect because Chris always took his time. He was very methodical when I saw him pitch last year with the Mets. I was very impressed with him always, but he did take a lot of time, so he may have a little
Right.
bit more adjustments to make for the Jays this year with that new pitch clock rule.
What I don't understand is they're trying to speed up the game, right? They losing interest, but yet, advertising's where the money's at, right? That's the big delay in a lot of things. Plus, but you could go to a game, in concession. If you got a slow moving game, there's more people at the concession stand. Heck, they can go get a Miller Lite, man, at the concession stand. Sell more Miller Lights for a slower game. So
yeah,
I don't know.
it's like
Sometimes you got to be
there's
smart.
advantages, there's disadvantages, advantages. I personally, I mean, if I'm at the ballpark, I don't care if it's a 4-hour game. I'm there from the beginning to the end. Watching it on TV, it's like, all right, if we can get this game in under 3 hours, that's kind of cool because, I'm watching the Mets every game. I'm watching the Blue Jays every game. So, yeah, I mean,
Well,
a little
plus,
bit
hey,
speedier is okay.
you spend so much money on the ticket, you don't want it to leave too soon. You want to get the
No,
most out of
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's kind of a luxury these days with some of the prices that are out there for sure.
Exactly.
Uh, but other things going on in baseball, of course, we're in the middle of this will be the final week for the WBC, the World Baseball Classic. United States is in the finals. They just walloped Cuba at 14-2. Trey Turner broke open. I mean, he's had 3 home runs in the last couple of games. And now the USA faces the winner of the Japan versus Mexico semifinal. So this is the week it all comes down. Any thoughts on the WBC, John?
Well, Johnny, I've been watching a little bit, but before we get into that, there's a kid who pitched for Canada, Mitch Bratt. He pitched the other night when they played Team USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was 19, pitching an A ball. I tell you what, I tip my hat to the kid. It wasn't easy. He had trouble throwing strikes. You can't blame him. He's facing a Hall of Fame lineup. A number of those guys in that line, future Hall of Famers, right? But you know what? He stuck his chest out. He kept battling. He kept battling, and he walked a lot of guys, but he wasn't missing by much. Where a lesser kid would have imploded, and they would have had to carry him off on a stretcher or something, because he would have been so. But you know what, Mitch Pratt, we salute you, kid, man. You're gonna have a great future. Hang in there. It was just, and I saw Ernie Witt, my old coaching buddy, go out there and console him, and the the number of guys on the team, and it was it was good. It was good to see. So, but other than that, you know what? There's some downfalls to it too. You look at what Edwin Diaz and the Mets could cost the Mets the season. It really could. And then Altuve the other day.
Altuve gets hit, and he's got to have surgery now. So there's the star second baseman for the world champions, going to be out for at least 2 months. And Diaz is out for the season, even though his injury was really a freak accident with a celebration. But when I saw him laying on the floor, when he couldn't get up, and I'm like, only to the Mets this could have happened to. But it changes the entire dynamic of, he was lights out last year. Now he's gone for the season. It's crazy.
And yeah, you can't replace those guys. I mean, he was the elite. He's the top guy in the game, right?
He's elite.
He's got a big contract. And yeah, it was a freak thing, celebrations and all that. But we know one thing. If there hadn't been a WBC, it wouldn't have happened, right? I don't think there'd be any celebrating if they get a walk-off win in the spring training game.
No,
but you know what? It has been good for the game. Obviously, that's why they enjoy it. And there was a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
But the pros and cons, are these guys ready when they go into certain, that early in the season? I'm not sure. And the focus has got to be on the major league season. That's what people want,
And the players are getting paid by the teams, there's a lot of money tied up in these guys. And if you're an owner, if you're a GM, if you're a manager, if you're a teammate, and seeing your star reliever sitting on the ground and he's out for the year, I mean, mentally it could affect their confidence.
Oh, it's going.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, you lose this guy for a whole year now. But yeah, WBC, there's going to be a lot of discussion after this tournament concludes this week on where it goes.
It's going to be a discussion after every Mets loss, especially if they cough one up in the end. Oh yeah, you don't think that it's New York City? It's not like San Antonio, Texas.
They're already going nuts in New York on talk radio, and they're just like, there were so many funny posts on Twitter after this happened. I won't get into it, but there was like fans were just going nuts. They were freaking out. But hey, listen, wait, and then this happens, and the Yankees. Right. Yeah, go ahead.
Look at the Yankees. Rodon, right? He's going to miss beginning of the season. He's a big free agent, but that happened in the Yankee uniform in spring training.
It did.
So you look at it a little bit differently than,
And John, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, we have 2 big announcements today, and we're very excited about it. The first announcement is about a brand new presenting sponsor for the Gibby Show. Why don't you let everybody know who that is?
Well, Johnny, yeah, we're real excited. We got Miller Lite as our big sponsor. We couldn't ask for a better sponsor, but they are baseball, right? And it's funny. That was my beer of choice when I was younger. Of course, when I was of legal age, naturally. But we're glad to have them on board. They like what we do. We really appreciate what they do, and they are baseball.
Yeah, they are. They are the official beer of Major League Baseball. And I have to, say the same thing as you. I mean, when I was a kid, I went to school in Boston, and I lived right around the corner from Fenway. And drinking age was 18. We'd go to the park. Miller Lite was our beer of choice. You give us a Miller Lite and a Fenway Frank, and we're good to go. So we're very excited about the partnership. And this summer is going to be great. Make summertime Miller time, and we're very, very excited and happy to bring Miller Lite aboard as a sponsor.
Well, not only that, it
as
tastes
the
like Miller
sponsor.
time right
It
now.
does.
Tastes like
It
Miller
does.
time right now.
It does. But,
We got a ball
very
game we
cool.
can watch tonight. Must
Yeah,
be a ball
yeah.
game on.
There's one every
WBC.
night, my
That's
friend.
right.
Every night.
That's right.
Every night's going to be Miller time.
Get you a cold one. Enjoy it.
All righty.
Corner blues, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
So we're excited about that partnership, first and foremost, but we have a second big announcement, which I'm going to allow you to talk about now. Last season, John, you were able to get amazing guests for the podcast, from Alek Manoah, Bo Bichette, Jordan Romano, Jose Batista, Alex Anthopoulos. I mean, you go on and on. Josh Donaldson. We had a tremendous lineup of guests last year. I hear the rumor mill has it that you have found a guest for next week on our premiere show, the official premiere show. That is going to be a pretty cool one. So why don't you tell everybody who you got for next week?
Hey, well, it's our boy John Schneider, man. Big John, the manager. We wanted to get him on last year. It didn't work out because look, scheduling conflicts and things like that. But we figure what better way to start off season than your leader, And hey, Johnny did a great job last year. He really did.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, when you take over, usually when a manager takes over in mid-season, right? It's like when I took over, the team stunk, right? It didn't matter what happened. Really, the team wasn't going to get any better. So there was more pressure on him than those guys that take over midterm, because the team was still in a good position, right? So it could have, if things went bad and they fall out of that, everything's imploded, right? But Johnny steered the ship, helped get him to the postseason, made some great decisions. Obviously, the players love him. He had a lot of them coming up through the minor leagues, and he makes them click. Plus, he got rid of the jacket.
He got rid of it. No, that's going to be a fascinating. That's going to be a fascinating gabbing with Gibby next week, to bring John Schneider on right when the season's about to start. I think there's it could be the last day of the exhibition games. You may have one or two there, but just to get him and to see you both together on the podcast and interacting with each other, I think it's going to be a phenomenal first guest for the show this season.
Well, you know what, Johnny and I, when I was managing, he was managing the low minor leagues for us, but he would always be down in spring training. He lived in the area, and so when players would go down there really early before they were required to be there, he was always out there throwing BP. He throws the best BP in the history of the game. I'm telling you, and he never tires, right? So we'd abuse him, man, and his arms still hanging on there. But you know what? He just one of those good guys. And then so when spring training would start, we'd make sure we kept him over in big league camp as long as we could, because he was that valuable too. He's a good baseball man. So we go way back, but you can always tell. You know what? He had that knack. There was something in him. Another ex-catcher, right? He had just a sharp baseball guy, and we're proud of him. We're pulling for him, and it'd be a good way to start it off. He can recap spring training and kind of build some optimism for the season.
Yeah, because the team is pretty much set, but there's still, that opportunity for the 26th person, whoever is going to be added. But I look forward to that talk that you're going to have, that gabbing with Gibby with John next week is going to be awesome. You have been, here we go, gearing up for this season with this podcast, and I know how much you love doing this, but you also have a very busy spring, because the book, Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer, written by you and Greg Oliver, is coming out April the 4th. You're going to be going up to Canada for a book launch. You're going to be at Costco's. You're going to be doing personal appearances, media, and then you'll be back up in Toronto the third weekend of April at a big sports expo show, signing copies of your book, meeting the fans. We'll be giving people more information. But this is a got to be a proud moment for you. I mean, this is a fantastic book about your life in baseball, John. So I mean, it's great reading. It comes out April 4th. You can go to ecwpress.com, go to Amazon, wherever you buy your books. It's available for pre-sale right now. So tell us a little bit about that process and the book, and you're an author now, my friend.
John, it was a lot of fun. At first I was a little skeptical. I was approached early at the end of my, in 2018 when the season was over and I was gone. Everybody knew that, some of our writers, some really good sports writers in Toronto, right? And they said, well, if you ever write a book, we want to write a book. And I dismissed it, thinking, really? I was going to read my book. And I was serious about that, And then things came to fruition. You helped me line that up. And I actually had fun, reminiscing a little bit, looking back on not only just my career, but my life a little bit. And, I hope people enjoy it. I had fun with it. We'll see. But it's kind of, I gave a copy to my mother the other day, and she was really critiquing the thing. But she said she enjoyed it. She was making sure that I wasn't falsifying anything. I didn't get how many Pinocchios. I was making sure.
She was fact checking you.
Fact check, and you know what she says? Man, I didn't tell a lie.
Hey, listen, the fact that your mom is went through it with a fine-tooth comb, it's going to be an amazing book for baseball fans, for Blue Jay fans, for baseball fans. It's just going to be a wonderful book, and I do understand that you're also going to be doing an audio version of it upcoming. So look for that book wherever you get your books. It's called Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer. So that's going to be wonderful. And I know all the fans out there, like last season, love to ask you questions, and we're going to do that again this season coming up. We'll be taking your questions. If you want to ask Gibby a question, all you got to do is send an email to askgibbyshow@gmail.com or use the Twitter hashtag AskGibby. And then beginning on our first episode, we'll answer some questions from some of the fans. And I know that both you and the fans enjoy that interaction. So we got a great season coming up. Hope springs eternal, and here we are. Baseball season starting.
Yeah, that's why it's such a great game. Everybody looks forward to this, and there's something going on every day. You go out there and
yep.
You come home from work and you look forward to it. All you got to do is plop down, get your Cole Miller Light, man, watch a ball game on TV.
Right.
And then the next morning get up and check the box scores. That makes us all tick. We've all enjoyed it, been in the game for a lot of years, and it just like you said. This is a new year. There's optimism. Everybody thinks he's got a shot. Now, most of them don't, but they're still thinking.
But it's the beauty of it. It's the beauty of leaving spring training with anything could happen. Every team is a contender when that season starts. And we're going to be covering all of it right here. And with our sponsor, Miller Lite, we're going to have a fabulous baseball season, John. So we'll be back next week, and it's a pleasure to be back here once again with you. This is going to wrap up the 2023 Gibby Show podcast preview. For John Gibbons, I'm John Arezzi. We'll talk more baseball with you next week on the season premiere of the Gibby Show. Have a great week, everybody, and go Blue Jays.